So when I was younger, I used to give myself a really hard time about not being as naturally talkative of a person as I would have liked. I've always identified as more of like an introvert, someone who's a bit more like by nature quiet, thoughtful, reserved. I don't just open up to everyone. And nowadays I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that side of myself, but when I was younger, you can probably imagine that caused me a lot of issues. Like in school, people were constantly asking me, "Why don't you ever say anything?" Like imagine I'm on the edge of like a group discussion. I haven't said anything in like 20 minutes, and people start to notice that, and they tell me, you should speak up more. Like, Tom, speak. Why don't you say anything? And that was always really frustrating to hear because it's like, even at the time, I knew this is not from like a lack of trying. Like I'd been trying to look for ways to insert myself into the conversation. I'd be looking for those like gaps and opportunities, but I just couldn't bring myself to talk for one reason or another. And the even more frustrating part of this was I know I'm not always like this. Even if the majority of my year group at school sees me as this quiet, reserved, anonymous kid, I know what I'm like around my closest friends. Every Friday, every single week, from years like year 9 to year 12, I used to play games with my friends. Like after school, we play PS4 games, Rainbow Six Siege, fucking Fortnite, games like that, and this would just be the highlight of my week. This was everything I was looking forward to, because this could be like the time where I really let loose. Like if you'd have walked in the room, you would see me like screaming down the mic, just like we're all in fits of laughter. We're making probably the most like juvenile, but also at the time like just hilarious jokes. Just saying like the stupidest stuff could just make us laugh so much. Really unfiltered, just unafraid to speak what's on my mind, say anything at all. And I remember just feeling like this is the version of myself I want to show the world, but I can only bring this out around like my closest friends. And something even more frustrating, something which like kind of like really just destroyed my self-esteem even more at the time, was even during this like safe space where I got to like kind of be who I want to be with around my friends. Even then I wasn't perfectly safe, because on occasion, say there were like 3 or 4 of us in the call, 3 or 4 of like my guys, like my closest friends, some other person who I wasn't as comfortable with would join. And I could go from being the loudest one in the group to completely silent, reserved, unsure of myself, hesitating to like even say anything. Just because I'm aware that like the dynamic has changed, the energy has changed in this group. Whether this was, it could sometimes be someone who I didn't really like, but sometimes it would be someone I didn't know. But the result was the same. I'm just completely thrown off by this. And even now I look back on this and I'm kind of like, I kind of feel like almost like physical pain over this. Like this really affected me. This really was like, I used to like think about this and just want to cry. Like it sounds kind of embarrassing, but it literally used to make me want to cry because I was just so frustrated at myself, like so much self-loathing. And I kind of pin it down to either like I'm just this incredibly introverted guy, that's just like who I am, or I'm socially awkward. Sometimes it felt like those two things meant the same in my head. And what I'm about to talk about in this video really kind of cleared up a lot of those like almost self-hating thoughts, not to sound dramatic, but the things that I would really give myself a hard time over. This belief that I'm this awkward person who can't like communicate or socialize like everyone else can. this really cleared a lot of those up for me. And it's an idea or set of ideas that I learned through one of my mentors. So I'll give it to you now. The reason you become more introverted or more quiet in a given situation is not because you're awkward, it's not because you lack social skills. Like, you can talk to your friends. You don't hesitate to talk or like say stuff, make jokes, be unfiltered around people who you trust. You have social skills. So it's not any of that. It's simply because right now you probably feel in danger. And you're probably reacting to what I would call past fear. So my mentor taught me all about the nervous system. And I kind of just like, I guess I've heard of the nervous system before, and I was kind of like, you know, in like biology class, and kind of thought this is just not relevant to me at all. But what he helped me understand is that oftentimes it can feel like in these situations our body just shuts down. Like, I cannot for the life of me think of like what to say, or like I want to contribute, but because this person is here, I suddenly become like really unsure of myself. And I think that's because I'm awkward or I'm weird, but really it's the fact that I like no longer feel safe. And that's kind of weird, because it's like, I know I'm not in like any form of like physical danger here. But the thing is, our nervous system reacts to all forms of danger. Not just physical danger, but like emotional danger. So if I believe there's any chance that this person is going to bring some kind of pain to me, then my body begins to shut down. You've probably heard of like fight or flight mode. Like, when you can't think of what to say in a situation, when you become awkward and your brain freezes up, you're not like that when you're with your friends, when you're feeling safe. This is a response to some form of danger. And that is literally slowing down your brain, giving you brain fog. Because all your body is thinking about is getting out of this situation, which it interprets as like potentially life-threatening. And that's what was happening to me. All throughout my years of school, I had this reputation as being this like silent kid. I'd go like an entire hour without talking to the person sitting next to me. Regardless of what I was like around like my closest friends, like the loudest person in the room, when I was with someone who I like didn't really know or trust, I would shut down. I'd become like super quiet, super introverted. People literally used to like see me and be like, "Who is that?" They'd make this joke that like I was the new kid because I never said anything. But what I've only just started to realize is this was a protective strategy. A protective strategy to protect me from some form of danger. Because when you're mistreated, when you're made to feel something that you really don't want to feel, like let's say an extremely negative emotion, the worst kind of embarrassment, or rejection, or shame. These things are so traumatic that your nervous system holds onto them. It felt so bad, that emotional pain, it holds onto it. And it decides that it never wants you to feel that bad again. It never wants you to feel that bad again. And I think what happened to me is, unfortunately, like through like experiences of bullying, when I opened up to people, like I had friends in the past who I'd like try and share things with, like share things that I was genuinely passionate about. I remember with one of my friend groups, like I became really into like basketball. Like literally over like a whole weekend, this became like one of my biggest passions, and I loved basketball for years, bro. And I came and tried to like share this with my friends, thinking they'd be interested, and they just mocked me with it. Like I opened my heart to my friends to share something I was passionate about, and they just took advantage of it and used it as an opportunity to bully me, to make fun of me. And that felt awful. Because when you open yourself up to that only for that kind of reaction, that's like a deep pain, the type of pain that your nervous system wants to protect you from. So I think at some point I conditioned myself into becoming like ultra quiet, like not letting anyone in. I'm not even going to engage with the person sitting next to me because I don't know if they represent some form of danger. They might do, they might not, but I'm not going to take that chance of feeling this pain again. So I conditioned myself into becoming this really silent kid around people who I like didn't really trust. Around people who I did trust, I was the most lively, energetic person in the world, but around people who like represented some form of danger, not only would my body kind of shut down, but I become like super quiet and introverted. And that is not me being awkward. That's not my lack of social skills. That's just a behavior that I've conditioned myself into. And it happened, it was so deeply entrenched and happened over such a long period of time that I kind of stopped becoming aware of that. And my perception of myself kind of became like merged with this kind of idea of how everyone else sees me. I started to believe I was that kind of person rather than like it just being maybe like one version of me, a version of myself that I became to protect myself from harm. It's kind of like, the way I describe it as is our nervous system becomes like extra sensitive to any signs of danger. We're almost reacting to like past fear, past experiences of pain. Now anything that even like reminds us of that, we're going to react to it. We're going to overcompensate. It's like if one time you burned yourself on a hot stove, you put your hand on the stove and you got burned. You're never going to do that again because you felt that pain. You felt how bad it was. But something interesting that can happen is sometimes even like looking at that stove or something like that. Even like looking at this stove, you remember that pain. You remember how bad it felt. Just looking at it is enough to remember how badly you got burnt. So you're extra sensitive. You're extra aware of things that could potentially trigger that pain. You're not reacting to something which could harm you like right now, or like an actual like form of danger. But if it reminds you of something which caused you danger, your body is going to react the same way. It's going to shut down. So this is what I believe was happening to me for so many years. I just go in on myself, retreat back into my shell around anyone who even vaguely reminded me of like someone who could inflict harm upon me. Maybe this wasn't the direction you were expecting for this video, but I think this is like really good learning in like all manner of social situations. Not just social situations. Like I've used this when it comes to like being productive and doing writing for my videos. Like we're all reacting to some kind of like past fear. So I guess if there's any type of solution, it's to become aware of like what these patterns are. Because so many of these just become like automatic. We just live by this like routine, this pattern for so many years in a row that it becomes like unconscious. So what I've been doing is just in the moment around these people who sometimes trigger this response in me, because it is a certain type of person sometimes. Sometimes it feels like a bit of a stand-in for someone who bullied me. Maybe they possess kind of similar characteristics, or they remind me of someone from the past. And that causes me to kind of tense up and go all quiet. It's reminding myself in the moment what's truly going on. I'm not really in any danger here. My body is reacting as if something is about to hurt me. It's reacting as if I'm about to get punched or something like that, or killed. But I'm not in any physical danger here. My mind is aware of that, but I need my body to catch up. It's going to take a little bit longer for my body to catch up, but if I just keep reciting that, I'm not in any danger here. I'm reacting to past fear. Eventually that helps me calm down. Even just like 5 seconds of being aware of this is so powerful for breaking that pattern. And I've got lots of videos on more practical ways to kind of return your nervous system to this feeling of safety in the moment, in social situations. This is pretty much all I've been exploring on my channel for like the last 6 months, so go and watch any of my other videos if this is interesting to you. And if you want to talk about this problem maybe on a one-to-one basis, I am offering free coaching at the moment. Go and look in the link in the description to book a free consultation call with me. Totally informal. I'm just here to listen to what you're going through and see if I can help. Take care, man. I'll see you in the next one.